If you want to have deeper and richer experiences of worship than you've ever had before, or if you want to start worshiping together as a family, but you don't know where to start or what to do, this video is for you. So, this is the God of Abraham hymnal, and I want to show you how it can help to meet that need in your life. And if you've had bad experiences with people who sing hymns or with hymn books, or if you think maybe hymns are just for old people and you're like, well, I'm not that old, or that's just whatever, not for me, I hope you won't bounce away just yet, because that's not what this is. This is a bold new expression of worship for a passionate and positive generation. So if that's true of you, then maybe this is for you. Or maybe you haven't had any experience with hymns and you're like, oh, a hymn? What's that? Somebody who's not a her? So maybe that's you. This is for you too. It's going to be super beginner friendly, as you see. And if you want to have a deeper experience of God and worshiping Him, then I really believe that this is going to make that difference for you. I want you to think about the most popular praise and worship songs from the last 10 or 20 years. One of them was Good, Good Father, as portrayed in this meme. Another portrayed in this meme from when I was growing up was Our God is an Awesome God. Maybe you've even gotten that stuck in your head, like in this meme. Our God is an awesome God. Man, how many times did we sing that? Like, in a row. Wow. All right. So anyways, I want you to think about, just some of the hits from today, praise and worship hits. Now, think about how many of those are still going to be sung in 100 years. Like any of them. Basically, though, that's what hymns are. Hymns are worship songs that are at least 100 years old, that were so good that we literally never stopped singing them. And a hymnal, or a hymn book, is a book full of those songs. They're like the best songs we ever sang. So I want to look at two passages of scripture with you about that. So this is interesting. The Bible actually tells us to sing. And it tells us to sing like three things: psalms and hymns and spiritual songs. And I really like how it mentions here to be filled with the Spirit. It's like somehow this is connected with the experience of the Holy Spirit and being filled with the Spirit. I really like that. So the question is, which of these do you sing? I mean, like it's in the Bible twice, right? You can see it's not even mentioned just once; it's twice. So it must be a big deal. So which do you sing? And of course, the right answer would be, oh yes, I sing all three of those. But the real question is, like, do you? Do we? Wow, like how many of us sing psalms, for instance? And I'm kind of curious too, like, if somebody were to ask you what's the difference between a psalm, a hymn, and a spiritual song, what would you say? And I didn't really know the answer to this question myself before I began really looking into it recently. And so I'll share my findings with you in brief here. So I looked up the original Greek terms for this in Strong's Concordance, and we're going to go all Bible nerd for just a minute here. So I hope you'll bear with me, and then we're gonna get to the even better stuff. Not that it's better than the Bible, but if you're not into original languages, then maybe some of the practical stuff that I'll be sharing with you briefly will be even more interesting. All right. So anyway, so the original Greek word here for psalms is psalmos, as you can see, and I guess that's where we get our English word psalm from, is from the Greek psalmos. And you can see here, I'll show you now the verb that it's from. So you'll see it says here, so this is Strong's Greek number 5568. So it's from the verb 5567. So if we go to that, we see that it's I don't know if you'd say that solo or psalo. I guess we call them psalms, not psalms. So maybe that's an answer to our question. But it says it has the sense of playing on a stringed instrument, like rubbing or touching the strings, twitching or twanging. So basically playing guitar. So that's kind of interesting, just to know what the original word is for psalms. And then here are all the places where this word is used in the New Testament. So as you can see, it's definitely used in reference to the Psalms from the book of Psalms. So where the Bible says sing psalms, it's definitely talking about the actual psalms from the actual book of Psalms. So that's the first word. Now let's look at the second, hymnos. So the word translated hymns is hymnos. So again, we get our English word hymn from the Greek word hymnos, which I did not know. And I really like here how it's from the verb to celebrate. Wow. Hymns are all about celebration. So, if you're like singing hymns and it doesn't feel like a celebration, then you're not doing it right, basically. And similarly, if you're like, I want to sing hymns, but you're like, don't have a kind of a celebratory vibe to wanting to do that, maybe there's more. Maybe there's more for you there. Yeah. Okay, so interestingly enough, you can see here it says total KJV occurrences, 2. So basically, these two passages are the only places in the New Testament where hymns are mentioned, and we're told to sing them. And Strong's has a little bit more for us about that in just a second. So as you can see here, here's our third word, and sorry, I'm kind of in the way here. I'll get out of the way. Okay, here. So the word for songs is ode, and you can see here that it denotes a... okay, so it just means like a song, basically, something that you would sing. And then here it says, while this one, so that's the hymnos. So hymns denotes especially a religious metrical composition. And this is actually our third in 3 videos in which I'm introducing you to the God of Abraham hymnal. And, in the first video, I showed you some of its contents, some of the really neat hymns that we're including that you're not going to find in any other hymn book. In the second, we talked about some of its features, things that make it different. And in there, I did share a little bit of this with you already. Just how hymns are like they have what's called meter, a certain number of syllables per line. That's kind of what makes poetry, basically. Our brains love that stuff. We'll talk more about that soon. So that's why here in Strong's, hymn is defined as a religious metrical composition because it has meter. It's not just like kind of random, free saying stuff and saying, oh, look, it's a hymn. No, it's like there's actually some structure to it. And then our third word here, as you can see, is still more specifically a psalm, a Hebrew cantillation. So that's definitely the book of Psalms. And so songs, that's ode, and it comes from this verb here, ado. Where we have like ode to joy. So ode is from that Greek word, right? Or we talk about like much ado about nothing, that expression. I'm guessing that we would get that from this. So it's like, you're singing about something, so to speak, you're celebrating it. And that's the word that is used here for spiritual songs. And this is kind of interesting. Outside of these 2 places, the only times when this is used are in the book of Revelation. And it talks about like singing a new song, singing the song of Moses and the song of the Lamb. So yeah, maybe that gives you a little bit of a better sense of the differences between psalms and hymns and spiritual songs. So they're not the same thing, 3 different things. And looking at those, you're probably like, I never thought of that before. Like, God actually says to sing hymns? And maybe you're also like, I don't actually really do that. I don't really have a plan. Like, maybe we kind of sing some hymnish songs at church. Maybe some remixes of Amazing Grace or 1 or 2 of those. Maybe sometimes, or maybe not even that, I think the reality is most of us don't really sing hymns, and we're certainly not intentional about it. We're not like, oh yeah, God said to sing hymns, and so we do this on a regular basis. This is our plan. We can actually kind of quantify it. So I'm kind of hoping that this is like a big moment for you. Because of course you love God, and of course you want to obey him, because it's great, right? Especially when he says to do something twice, like it must be important, but maybe you don't know where to start. You're like, yeah, I'd like to do that, but like, where do I even start? And basically, that's where I come in. I'm here to really hopefully kind of help you with that. I want to make it really easy for you. And so basically, in this video, we're going to go over the who, what, when, where, how, and why of hymns, of singing hymns. But before we go there, I want to give you some encouragement. You might have an inner voice. So maybe you're thinking about like singing hymns, and you might have an inner voice that says something like this, basically telling you like, hey, you can't sing, like, just don't even try, like, no. Or maybe you feel like this, like you actually love to sing, but you feel like your singing voice sucks. Or maybe people made fun of you as a kid. It really bothers me that happens, but that happens way too often. And then like the kid's just discouraged, and like they're discouraged from singing anymore. Or like maybe you're this guy, and you can't sing, but you don't care and you sing anyways. And if so, like that's awesome. I love you. We all love you. And but you know what? Even more importantly, if you're feeling like any of those things, God loves you, and this is how He feels about you and your singing voice. I feel like there's something about this meme that really communicates that. My vocal cords doing a horrible job of singing worship songs to the Lord. But maybe this is a tiny bit of like how the Holy Spirit is responding to you. Somehow picturing the way God feels about you when you just do it. You just sing to Him from your heart. Because God doesn't listen to a person's vocal cords and maybe exactly there's how they sing, how well they think they can sing. He listens to your heart. He looks at the heart. And if you're doing that because you're passionate, because you love Him, because you want to obey Him, you have that great attitude that way. God loves that, and that actually touches His heart, and it puts a smile on His face, so to speak. So we're talking about hymns right now. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is why. And that's why right there, because God says to. But even more than that, because you love Him, because you want to put that smile on His face, because it blesses Him, it ministers to His heart. You, just the way you are, singing the way you sing. That is, and like, wow. And then you do that with other people, and it's like exponential. All right, so that's the why. Right there. Let's cover the others, starting with what. Now that we've talked about how, singing, that's, hopefully you're feeling encouraged about that. So what? So basically, you're going to need to, if you want to sing hymns, you need some hymns to sing. That's the what. What will you sing? You'll sing some hymns. And you're probably going to need a hymnal to keep them in. And so I'm going to suggest that you use this one because it's already full of great hymns, and you can keep all of those hymns in your hymnal. And not only does it have all the hymns that everybody knows and loves, it also has hundreds of incredible hymns that you've probably never heard of before. And I'm going to real quick give you a little bit of the backstory to this hymnal. If you want to read more, visit our website, ourhymnal.com. I'll put the link in the video description, and I actually tell more of the backstory to this hymnal there. But basically, I'm the editor of the God of Abraham hymnal, and I went through over 16,000 of the old hymns, basically like all of them that are available. And I selected, specifically, I was looking for 3 different kinds of hymns. So firstly, I was just, I picked all the popular hymns that everybody knows and loves and wants to sing and would want in their hymnal. I get that. I love them too. I enjoy singing them. And then secondly, I looked for hymns about these themes. And I showed you a bunch of examples of this in the first intro video. Like I said, this is the third. So, there are a ton of old hymns about the Jewishness of Jesus, actually. Old Christian Zionist hymns about the Jewish people going back to the land of Israel and having Jerusalem as their capital. And this was back in the 17 and 1800s, right? Like way before the Zionist movement. Hymns about Jews and Gentiles being one in Messiah, hymns of intercession for the Jewish people, hymns that have Hebrew words in them like Abba or Shekhinah, like the Shekinah or Shekinah, or however you say that in English, hymns with Old Testament themes, hymns that speak really warmly about the Sabbath and about the feasts of the Lord, about God's law and commandments, and just so many great themes. And so basically, any old hymn that had any of these themes, if its melody was even like half good, I put it in the hymnal. So again, like all of the best hymns about these themes from the over 16,000 hymns that I comb through, they're all in this hymnal. And then thirdly, one more is as I was going through these old hymns, some of them just really gripped me. Like the lyrics were just so rich, something really maybe really touching or profound about them. Or the melody was just incredible. Like it just moved me. And so, if there was a hymn that had great lyrics and great melody, and I was like, just like, you know what? I have to have this hymn. I have to sing this with my kids. This has to be part of our family culture. Then those ones made it in also. So some of them, they're not popular, and they're not about some of those themes that I just showed you. They're just incredible old songs that I personally would want to have in my hymnal, and that I personally would want to hand down, like kind of pass on as part of that legacy to my kids and my grandkids. And so those are in there too. So is there a personal touch to this hymnal? Absolutely. And that's what you get when you're the editor of a hymnal, I guess. You get to do stuff like that. All right, so that's the what. Sing these hymns from the God of Abraham hymnal. So many great hymns. Okay, now the who. Who's going to sing them? Well, probably you, I guess, would be kind of at the center of it. And yeah, you could sing these by yourself, honestly. So back in my teens, I had a newspaper route, and all my newspapers had to be delivered by 7 a.m. in the morning. And so I'd be out there walking for an hour, and I have a pretty active mind. I needed to kind of do things to keep my mind occupied, not get bored. And also, that was kind of my time with God. And so one of the things that I did is I think I actually wrote these out. I wrote out like by hand, with a pencil on a little piece of paper, the hymns that I really wanted to sing and to learn. And I would just walk along and deliver my newspapers and sing to God. And I was like around 15 or 16. That was where I experienced my spiritual awakening, honestly. I just had such profound experiences of the presence of God. Wow. And that's when he called me too. And that really set the trajectory for my entire life. And, so I'm just speaking from personal experience. And I almost tear up thinking about this, but singing hymns has been a very deep thing for me. Just by myself, just me and the Lord, just singing to him, singing about him. And I know that he enjoyed that too, because of the way I felt his presence as I was singing. I was like, he must have really enjoyed that, because he like came to listen, and that is something that we can all experience. So, even if it's just you, it's not just you, it's you and him. And that's awesome. So definitely do that, Now, along with that, if you're married, sing these with your spouse. Why not? It's going to make your marriage even better. What a beautiful experience, just singing together, learning these songs together. If you're a parent, definitely sing these with your kids. Especially if you're a husband and or a father. As a husband and father, I want to encourage you with this. I want to encourage you to kind of take the initiative, take the lead with this. Maybe you've wanted to lead your family in some kind of devotions, or spend time with God together as a family, and you just didn't really know how to do it, what to do, or maybe you tried and it was just kind of flat and boring. Like I completely understand all that, but you know what, this could be the thing for you, because the God of Abraham hymnal, it's like a package deal. It's like literally all you need. As I talked about in the last video, as I'm going to share more with you soon. This is super beginner friendly. There are audios like of the melodies for every single hymn in here. So you just play the melody on repeat and sing along like karaoke style. Like anybody can do that, right? Sing together with your family. And like, I really want to encourage you to not like put this on your wife. Like, don't dump it on her. Our wives are very spiritual people. They're super capable. They're probably more spiritual than us most of the time, right? And so, like, could she do this? Yeah. Would she maybe even do it better? She might have a better singing voice than you, whatever the case may be. You know what? That could very well be. But what if God is calling you to do this? What if he's calling you to take the initiative? You know what? Your wife could do it, but I'll bet it would mean the world to her if you took the lead on this. And if you said, hey, you know what? I want to start worshiping together as a family. Maybe once a day, maybe once a week, whatever the case may be. Maybe you go to church or congregation or whatever, and that's great. But I want to spend time with God together at home, just as a family. That's awesome. God wants that for you. I guarantee God wants that for you and your family. And maybe this is his invitation, his friendly, encouraging invitation through me to take that step and to make it happen like in your own way, right? So anyways, I'm a husband and father. I'm doing this with my family. Beautiful experiences, so rich, unforgettable. And I really do. I want you to have these experiences with your family too. I don't want your family to miss out. And I don't think you want your family to miss out either. So, if you don't want them to miss out, then you're going to need to do something about that. And I really believe that this can make the difference in kids' lives. Like think about it for a second. Singing one hymn a day, maybe first thing in the morning, before bed, maybe in the evening around the supper table or the dinner table, however you call it. What if that actually made the difference between your kids like growing up to have a strong faith in God or them growing up to become atheists or just lukewarm? Like that literally can make the difference. And like, don't you think that would be worth it? Making that change, maybe it's a little uncomfortable. You're like, my singing voice sucks. My kids are all going to make fun of me. Well, my kids make fun of me too, but it's because they love me. And you know what? It's okay. So you're in good company here. So, yeah, do this. If you don't want to do it for yourself, that's fine. But please do this for your kids and for your family. Because like I said, it really can make the difference. And we need to be worshiping God together at home. We're responsible to raise our kids as worshipers. And that starts with us cultivating lifestyles of worship in our own lives, having our own habits of spending time with God, and then we can bring our kids into that. A couple other a couple ideas here, just family-wise. If you're a grandparent and you have grandkids, maybe you can sing some of these songs with or for your grandkids. One of my warmest memories is of my grandmother singing an old hymn to me when she put me to bed at night when they were babysitting, I guess. And it just goes like, Jesus makes us shine with a clear, pure light. Little song, really beautiful. And when I found this, as I was going through the hymns, it was a really, really touching moment. I could just about hear her voice, And that could be you as a grandparent. Maybe that could be part of the legacy that you leave to future generations. And you know what? I really believe that hymns are one of the ways that you can pass that burning torch of faith to the next generation. So, if you're a grandparent, these are your best years. They can be your most powerful years. And I believe that the God of Abraham hymnal can help you to pass that flame on. You know what? Even if you're like an uncle or an aunt, uncles and aunts are the best. They're just fun, and they're usually just great people, and we really like them. And maybe you could even do something like this. Talk with the parents, of course, of your nephews or nieces or whatever. But maybe you can like find some hymn that you and the kids just really enjoy, and maybe you can like sing that one song together every time you see each other, or something like that. I don't know, but there are just so many ideas. Aside from family, of course, there's your friends, maybe your fellowship. What if you got together weekly just to learn and sing these songs together? Little circle of friends who just really love God and really just enjoy these lyrics. Wouldn't that be great to share this journey with a couple kindred souls that way? Or, your fellowship also, whatever that might look like. What if you asked the leadership of your congregation if you could start a hymn singing group? Or you talk to your worship leader and asked if maybe he or she could start including some of these old classics and these gems in the worship sets. In the previous video, I showed you how one of the things that makes the God of Abraham hymnal unique is that we've made this very worship leader friendly. There's a worship leader page with resources at ourhymnal.com. So, send that link to your worship leader and maybe nag them a little bit and see what might happen. All right, let's move on to the next question. When to sing hymns? And again, it's just fun to think about this and just think about the possibilities. Like, what if you did one hymn a day? Maybe in the morning, if that's when you spend time with God, or maybe before bed, or like I said, maybe in the evening around the dinner table. That's a great time when the family's together, or maybe when you're spending time with God. Or if not daily, what if you could do weekly? What about the Sabbath? Do you keep any kind of Sabbath? Like, God tells you, don't work. And he tells you that because he loves you and because he wants you to spend time with him, not just as an individual either, but, families and fellowships. That's a blank check right there. Dude, God was like, hey, make time for me. What if you just did that, sing these hymns on the Sabbath. Here's another idea. In the previous intro videos, I showed you how the God of Abraham hymnal themes all of these hymns to the feasts. They're organized around the feasts of the Lord and some of those big themes. So really, you can sing any of these hymns at any time. They're all great and meaningful. And at the same time, they're even more meaningful when you sing them during these times. So, that's something to consider. I don't know, maybe you've never celebrated any of the Jewish holidays. You've never kept any of the biblical feasts of the Lord. Maybe this is your opportunity. Maybe this is the Holy Spirit reaching out and inviting you to take that step and to meet with God during his appointed times. They really are like dates between Messiah, our bridegroom, and us, the bride. So, why not? And maybe you're like, yeah, I'd love to keep the feasts, but I wouldn't know what to do. Well, now you know. Look at this. All of these amazing old songs that you can learn and you can sing on these days about all of these great themes. So yeah, definitely, sing these on the feasts is another time when you can do this. All right, what about where? So I already mentioned singing at home, and that's a good one. Even if you don't feel so confident, you don't feel like you can sing, maybe with groups or out in public, belt them out at home. Around the table, sitting on the couch, in your kids' room, definitely. You can, sing them wherever your congregation meets, church or elsewhere. Here's another idea. Have you ever worshiped God in nature? Have you ever gotten outdoors and sung to him under the open sky, under the clouds, under the stars, whatever the case may be? That's another idea. What if you drove out to the country, to a beautiful place, to just sing to God, by yourself? That makes it so meaningful because you're just doing it for him, and I know that means the world to him too. Or maybe with a couple other kindred souls. Just think about how amazing that would be to drive out to the country to a beautiful place and just sing hymns of praise in nature. I mean, I don't know if you noticed this, but we even have one chapter. It's one of the chapters for Shabbat, the Sabbath, just with hymns about God as creator and about the beauty of his creation. How cool would that be? How unforgettable of an experience would that be? Or what if you met up at the park to sing? Especially now with increasing attacks on freedom of speech and freedom of the expression of our religion, it's a great time for you to be more public about your faith. And one of the best ways you can do that is to just go out to the park in a public place and worship God at the top of your lungs. And you know what? People walking past, most people are going to love it because we love singing. If you've ever just been out in public and you hear people singing, is that ever a downer? I don't think it ever is. It's just great. It's wow, people are singing. It just sounds so good. It feels so good. And what if the people of God started doing this? And just every park that you walked past, people were singing hymns of praise to God. Wow, that is going to do a lot right there to continue to support freedom of religious expression. So think about doing that, singing in the park. Or here's a couple other ideas. What if you went for a walk in your neighborhood? Or maybe on that bike path by the river, and you just sang while you walked. You'd have to be careful to not fall in the river or, kind of meander into the oncoming lane and get hit by a bike. Don't do that. But, those could be really cool experiences also. Just times with you and God. assuming that you're able to like walk and kind of look at the page at the same time. But you know what? Maybe you'll hit a point where you can just like sing this hymn without even having to look at the page. That's kind of what I did, like I said, in my teens when I was delivering newspapers, and I still know those hymns, and it's a really neat experience to just be able to sing them like off by heart, All right. So that's the who, what, when, and where of hymn singing. Hopefully that inspires you, gives you some ideas. And by the way, I would love to hear about what you do with the God of Abraham hymnal. We have a stories page on our website, ourhymnal.com, where you can basically just share, not just with us, but with the world, what you're doing with the God of Abraham hymnal. And basically, we're using book reviews as the place where you can do that. So, you can just give a quick 5 stars. It makes a difference. Or you can write an actual review and even include pictures of you. Using the God of Abraham hymnal, singing from it from your family. Maybe you're in some beautiful place. Maybe you're in a really not beautiful place. That's awesome. I'd love to see it. We would love to see it. So, share your experiences on the stories page at ourhymnal.com. All right, let's move on to the big one now. How? And I mean, that maybe you're like, by singing, that's kind of obvious, duh, right? But you know what? Especially if you're a beginner, there can be more to it than just oh yeah, it's that simple. Maybe it's not that simple. Maybe it's a big step, and you're like, I don't know, I've never sang hymns before. I don't know any of these melodies basically. Maybe Amazing Grace or something, So I'm going to give you 4 steps to make this really easy and really enjoyable. So firstly, I actually recommend just reading the words. Psalms, I'm sure you've heard of them. You've probably read them. I'll bet you've even prayed them. Interesting, because Psalms are actually the original psalm book of the people of Israel. Jesus and his disciples, they sang those things. that was like their hymn book, so to speak. And at the same time, you probably haven't done that. You've probably only read the Psalms. But my guess is that even at the same time, they were probably really meaningful to you. Just reading Psalms, praying Psalms. It was a meaningful thing. And it can be exactly that way with the God of Abraham hymnal. So we are going to talk about how to actually sing these things. But even if you just want to read them, that's awesome too. Do that. So what I would say is start there either way. Here's an example. This is an incredible, massive, magnificent hymn that's basically Isaiah 53 set to music. And I'm pretty sure it was Charles Wesley who did this one too. So this is historic. This is part of our heritage. And it's basically Isaiah 53, but set to meter and rhyme. And so you can sing this, and you can totally just read this too. And it's going to be a pretty powerful experience. So that's my recommendation. Start by just slowly reading the lyrics and really think about what they mean and let yourself feel it in a way that maybe you wouldn't even if you're singing. I don't know how it is for you, but often when I'm singing something, I'm just enjoying it. I'm kind of feeling it, but I'm not really thinking about what the words mean. And so sometimes when you slow down and you just read them, it's going to be like a new experience. And I'll give you an example. Amazing Grace. Have you ever just read Amazing Grace? I'll just read the first verse and just see if this is a different experience for you. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. And so, that's something I would say. Regardless of whether you're by yourself or with a group, start by just reading the lyrics. Another good reason to do this is some of these are, they're pretty old, and they have some old English words in them, and you might want to look up the occasional word. Ask your phone, look it up, whatever. Especially if you're doing this with kids. There's going to be stuff in here that your kids don't understand, and you want them to understand it. So my suggestion is, if you're doing this with kids, have your kids read the verses. If there's more than one kid, they can kind of round robin, take turns reading verses. And then if they don't understand something, just have them pause. Just say, if you don't understand something, just pause or say, what's that? And then you can explain it to them, a word, or sometimes just some of the way these concepts are phrased, it's a little hard. Or even like right here, speaking of even, it says, Ian. So it's like, well, Ian, or like, well, what is that, right? Most kids don't know. So then you can be like, oh, that means even. They just tried to say it faster because it's supposed to be one syllable. Stuff like that, right? So that's what I would say. Step number 1, just read the hymn and make sure you understand it. Okay, so number 2, play the melody on repeat and just hum along. And I already mentioned this, but basically you can get the melodies for every single one of these hymns on the melodies page at ourhymnal.com. The link's in the description. So just go to that page and you can listen to them online, or you can download them to your computer or whatever. So basically just, get the melody and play it on repeat and just hum along until you like really get a feel for the melody, right? Then after you've done that, you can begin singing along to the melody like karaoke style, basically. And I'm sorry for this meme, but I just had to put it in here. It's so great. All right, so that's step number 3. You're singing along karaoke style. And then finally, when you really feel like you have a feel for the song, you feel like you've really you kind of got it, then pause the audio, stop playing the melody and just sing it. And at that point, it's yours. You've got it. That hymn became your hymn, and your family's hymn, or your fellowship, or whatever. And you can literally just sing it together, and that is such an amazing experience. That's like when you take the training wheels off the bike. That's like when you spread your wings and fly for the first time, and that's an experience that I want you to have. And so, like I said, we have the melodies available in a couple different formats. They're all available as MP3s on Google Drive. You can access that on your phone or on your desktop, and then we also have them just available from a regular website page. So go to the melodies page at ourhymnal.com, and all that is just sitting there waiting for you. So really that's the basics of the how of singing hymns, but I'm going to give you some kind of more advanced, almost nerdy stuff. And I think this is pretty cool, and you'll have to tell me what you think. All right, so this is the melodies page from the God of Abraham hymnal. I mentioned this in our previous video that a lot of hymns have interchangeable melodies, so you can swap the tune for one hymn with another hymn. And the reason you can do that is because of something called meter. We touched on this already, but just real quick. So basically, syllables, like the number of, remember in grade school, like clapping out the number of syllables in a word? So that's what meter is. It's the number of syllables in each line. And so, an example would be Amazing Grace. If you were to clap that out, you'd be like, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. Okay, that's 8. That saved a wretch like me. That's 6. And so if you kind of do Amazing Grace, you'll discover that it has a meter of 8686. And they put like dots between, usually after the first 2. So you can see some examples of meter here. Usually hymns have 4 lines. Some of them don't. This one here has more, and it has 8. Or then this one here, see the little D there? That means it's doubled. So that basically means it has 8 lines, but it's like the first half are 6686, and then the second half are also 6686. A couple other cool things that I'll just briefly show you before I give you an example of this. There are like 3 meters that are really popular. So one is it's called short meter. You can see here 6686. And then it even has like an abbreviation. So SM means short meter. And as you can see here, we underlined the hymns that have really popular melodies. So for instance, Blessed Be the Tie That Binds. Most people know that one, right? So basically any of these hymns, you can sing to that melody. Like a Dread and Solemn Hour. Or what's another? Fair Wave the Golden Corn. So, you're like, wow, this whole book is full of hymns that I don't know the melody to. Excuse me, my voice is getting a little dried out here. So it's just full of hymns that I don't know the melody to. Well, you do know some melodies, and so you can literally sing all these hymns to melodies that you already know, or you can also, like I said, you can just learn the melodies and kind of sing them karaoke style, right? So that's fun. I'll show you a couple more here on the next pages. All right, so here's long meter. Basically, that's 4 lines with 8 syllables per line. Check it out. There's the first half, and then here's the rest. It's like a whole page of hymns with like to the same meter. So all of those melodies are like they're interchangeable, right? This is really really kind of crazy too. Like when you think about it. I'm trying to looking for a great example here that I can show you. Okay, here's a great example. Short meter doubled. You probably know these two. Crown him with many crowns, right? Crown him with many crowns. And this is my Father's world. This is my Father's world. So these two hymns, they they're very different in terms of like their style, but you can actually sing Crown him with many crowns to the melody of This is my Father's world and vice versa. Try it. It's the weirdest experience. Or like, here's another example, Count your blessings, immortal, invisible, God only wise, my Jesus. Like these are really different hymns and different melodies, but they're all interchangeable. So, that might be something that you might want to try just for a really kind of trippy experience. All right. So having said that, I'm going to give you an example of that. Firstly, when it comes to like other hymn books, so this is Hymns for Israel. It's like a little hymn book that was published back in the 1800s by one of the guys who worked on one of the first Hebrew New Testaments, and we tell that story in our Messianic History series at holylanguage.com, and we've also republished this on. You can find that on the publishing page at holylanguage.com. And so I've got a little copy here to show you Hymns for Israel, being republished after having not been published for whatever, like 150 years. And so I'll show you a page from this. Here's a hymn about Messiah being proclaimed, and see there where it says LM. So you know what that stands for now. Maybe you remember. LM is long meter, so that's 8888. So you're like, wow, this old hymn, man, nobody sang this for like 150 years. I love to sing this. I love the lyrics. Well, you can actually do that. Just look at any of these hymns. Here, let's go back to that real quick. Any of these hymns here that have long meter, if you know their melodies, you can sing them, Just as I am without one plea, When I survey the wondrous cross. Or maybe you've learned some of these and you're like, I love that melody. I want to sing every hymn to that melody. Well, basically you can do that if it has the same meter. All right, so I'm going to give you a specific example here. So if you go to the titles section of the hymnal, we have every hymn listed. And this is important and useful because we have these hymns organized in chapters, like I said, around the big themes of the feasts. And what that means is like the hymns aren't alphabetical from A to Z, from page 1 to page 550 or whatever, right? The hymns in each chapter are organized alphabetically. And so if you want to find a hymn, this is how you find it. You're like, okay, so let's say one of your favorite hymns is Another Day Begun. So you look it up and you're like, okay, it's hymn number 8. So I can find it that way. And you can also be like, oh, okay, it's in the chapter number 1, Hymns of Praise for Weekdays. That's cool. Now, if you wanted to take that even further, you could be like, oh, look at the meter. Now I know what those little numbers are for. So that's 6688. That's short meter. Okay. So then you turn to the melodies section of the hymnal, and you can look it up. And you can be like, oh, okay, look at all these other hymns that I can sing to the melody of Another Day Begun. Or, oh, look at this. I don't know the melody for Another Day Begun, but it's really catchy and I want to sing it. I could sing it to the melody of Blessed be the Tie That Binds. So that's kind of how that works just from the hymnal. Now, I'm going to show you another really cool feature. Along with all of the melodies that we have in the melodies collection, we also have this. It's a sheet, and it's available as a Google sheet and in Excel format, and it has all of the hymns listed, along with which one they are in the hymnal number wise, their meter, and then also the name of the melody. So every melody has a name, and usually they're named after places. I don't know how that happened, but it's kind of a neat tradition. And That's important because sometimes you'll have one melody and there are like a bunch of hymns that are sung to the same melody. So I'll kind of show you how this can be useful. All right, so for instance here, you have Another Day Begun, and you can look and be like, oh, look at the name of its melody is Roads. Roads. All right, so that's pretty cool. And then, there might be, the reason I'm saying this is because, like I said, there are some like melodies that are really popular, and there are a bunch of hymns that literally just have the same melody. And so this is an example. Duke Street was a pretty popular melody back in the day. It's in 8888, which is a long meter, remember, abbreviated LM. And basically all of these hymns are sung to this one melody. So you learn Duke Street, and then like you've got all these hymns basically. Pretty cool. And you can see some other ones where there are multiple hymns that are sung to the same melody. So we're not even talking about like, oh, this hymn, you could swap the tune with this other hymn. It's literally like, no, like just this set of hymns, they're all sung to the exact same tune. And so, if you've used Sheets before, then this is something you can do. You right click up at the top of the column, and then you can sort the sheet from A to Z. So if you want to sort all of these hymns numerically, then you do that with column A. If you want to sort them all alphabetically, you do that with column B. If you want to sort them by meter, there it is. Or if you want to sort them by the title. And so maybe you're familiar with this. How could I explain this? So let's say that you want all of the hymns that are in short meter, 6686, and you want them to be alphabetized, just those ones. So what you're going to do is you're going to alphabetize column D, the melodies, and then you're going to alphabetize A to Z, column C. And what that means, and then basically all of the hymns with this short meter, they'll all be listed alphabetically. And so an example would be, oh, look it, there's Blessed Be the Tie That Binds. I know that melody. Oh, look it, it's Dennis, whoever or wherever Dennis was. And here are two other hymns that apparently I already learned the melody for it because I already know this melody. So, hopefully that's just kind of a useful thing if you're like really into it and you kind of want to like maybe take that next step or kind of master some of these. If you have kind of an obsessive personality like me, then you're like, oh yeah. Okay. And one more thing, along with having all of the melodies in the collection like listed according to the actual titles of the songs, we also have those same melodies, but we have them listed. These are just MP3s, right? By meter and then with the name. So, for instance, here's we mentioned Dennis, Blessed Be the Tie That Binds. So there's an example, 6686 Dennis. So you can just play that and be like, oh, okay. So we've seen here that there are 3 hymns that you can sing if you just want to play Dennis here on repeat. You can sing 3 hymns karaoke style to Dennis. Just you're like, yeah, right there. I know which ones. All right, so that's more advanced stuff. Hopefully that was fun. Honestly, some of this was new to me. I had a lot of fun learning about it. And definitely it was a lot of work to put this hymnal together along with all of these background resources. But hopefully they'll be, useful, not just for you, but for the next generation also. So that is the who, what, when, where, how, and why of singing hymns, as God told us at least twice to do in Scripture. And that's how the God of Abraham hymnal and accompanying resources at ourhymnal.com can help. I am wondering something. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to help me get people singing hymns again. I want this to be revolutionary. I want this to totally revolutionize the way we worship across the body of Messiah. I want this to be the go-to hymnal for the next generation. And maybe you can see why if you saw the first couple of videos in this little set also. It's a deep expression of worship. It's rich. It's part of our heritage. Honor thy parents. And I really believe that it's something that can bring families and fellowships together in a way that, don't get me wrong. I love modern praise and worship. I listen to more modern praise and worship than most people. Like literally while I'm working, I'll have it on in the background for hours a day, right? So I do love it, don't get me wrong. And at the same time, it has its shortcomings. It's not made for like a cappella group singing the way hymns are. So there are just so many things about hymns that are great and that I believe should be passed on to the next generation, and that, that are just great for like you and me to experience also, right? So if you'd be willing to help me, these are the 5 little things that you could do. Number 1, just get your own copy of the God of Abraham hymnal. And then, like I said, you can share your story, your experience of it in a little review, or even just give 5 stars. And, that's on the stories page at ourhymnal.com. There's also a QR code in the beginning and the end of the hymnal, actually. And if you literally scan that, it'll take you right to the review, and you can literally just like leave a review. So that's kind of handy. Hopefully you'll also like this video. When you tap that like button, it tells YouTube or wherever this is that this is good stuff, and it's more people will want to see it, and then this video will be shown to more people. Hopefully you'll also subscribe to our channel. Always appreciate when you give props that way. I do hope that you'll also share this video and also our website, ourhymnal.com. Share the link. With your family and friends, maybe by text or email, share on social media, of course. And if you could also maybe share this with your congregation, ask your pastor or your worship leader if you can start singing these hymns, and let's make this big. Hopefully you'll also sign up for texts or emails, whatever you prefer. This is one of the many resources that we're putting out. I would hate for you to miss out on some of the other great stuff that we have going on and that we're going to have going on. I would love to just share the journey with you, and just keeping in touch with text or email is a great way that you can do that. And then finally, I'd like to invite you to study with us at holylanguage.com. So, our online Bible school is Holy Language Institute at holylanguage.com. We've been around for a long time, and we've taught students in thousands of students from almost every country. And our membership rates are really affordable. And basically, it's our members that enable us to do stuff like this. I have been working full-time for the last basically 8 months on this hymnal. And the only reason that this has become a reality is because of our members who show support and enable us to do this, each in their own little way. So would you be one of those people? Would you become one of those people? If you are already one of those people, sincerely, thank you. We did this together, and I couldn't be doing this without you. So, just thank you for prayerfully considering doing these quick 5 things and doing as many of them as possible. So, this was the third of 3 introductory videos about the hymnal. In the first one, we went over its contents, a bunch of these old hymns that, really were forgotten, that we're bringing back because they're just incredible. In the second video, we looked at some of the features that make this hymnal different than all other hymnals. If you haven't seen those videos yet, definitely watch them. In the next 13 videos, they're going to be very similar. In each one, I'm going to be going over one of the big themes that these hymns are about, and just like showing you all these places where they happen. For example, one of the first videos is going to be about old Christian Zionist hymns. Christians have been singing about the Jewish people returning to Israel for hundreds of years, calling for it, praying for it. This was part of the historical background to the emergence of the Zionist movement. In that video, I show you a bunch of these hymns, and I tell you the backstories. Who wrote it? When was it written? Was it popular or not? Other interesting historical, maybe you'd call it tidbits or trivia, but really it's just thrilling to see the journey that the body of Messiah has been on for hundreds of years, and to realize that we're a part of it, even just by getting this hymnal, by singing these hymns. And then you can share that. There is one phenomenal old hymn by Charles Wesley, and it's such a Zionist hymn. It's just like, wow. And so if you have Methodist friends, send that video to them. Be like, hey, this is your heritage. How's that going? Are you pro-Israel? Do you pray for the peace of Jerusalem? If not, maybe good old John and Charles Wesley would give you a little talking to. Maybe they'd invite you to get back to your Methodist roots. There are other videos about how historically Christians have just had such good feelings about God's law and commandments, about the Sabbath, about some of these things. Unfortunately, now sometimes people have kind of weird or maybe iffy or bad vibes about that. But you know what? That has not been the case historically. And so, if you love God's law, if you celebrate the Sabbath, man, you are in good company. Historically, Christians have been doing that for hundreds of years. And it's really beautiful the way these things are expressed in the old hymns. So, if that's you, if these videos would encourage you, if they're the kinds of things that you could share to be like, hey, this is actually pretty normal, then you're going to enjoy the next 13 videos in this playlist about that. So, I can't wait to have you join me for those. It's a lot of fun, something I'm pretty excited about personally. Maybe you can tell. I'd like to just finish this video by thanking you for taking this journey with me, for sure. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your support. Those 5 things I said, thank you for doing those things. And I also want to pray for you. I just pray that the God of Abraham, that he would bless you as you seek to worship him in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs.